Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Themeless Thursday where we talk about whatever the hell we saw on our newsfeed. And there's a lot of random topics here. I have some updates on the Rwanda Law that they passed in the UK. And we're of course going to cover our news segment, which I think it's the second week in a row we're doing it. The Thursday 13. I don't know what the 13 things on Thursday are, but Rod will tell us soon enough. Let's go ahead and cover our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, 75,000-year-old Neanderthal is revealed to the world.
And the DEA moves to reclassify cannabis.
Challenging Rwanda Law.
And today's Thursday 13 is Celebrities' Real Names, Part 1.
Can we just let trans people be actors? Not trans people who happen to be trans people in the movie.
Everything and all of that stuff, which is National Truffle Day, May 2nd, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Alrighty guys, I hope you're having a good Thursday. I hope your Wednesday was well. Since Wednesday's my day off, I had a nice time sitting in my chair, wanting to sleep, but not going to sleep at all, and that's why I'm tired. Let's go ahead and cover our first news story coming out of where? Well, it's coming off of The Independent. Archaeologists have reconstructed the human-like face of the Neanderthal women who lived 75,000 years ago in a cave where the extinct species may have conducted unique funerary rituals. This is written by Vishwam Sankaran. The bone fragments of the Neanderthal woman named Shadandar Z were first unearthed in 2018 from a cave in the Iraqi Kurdistan, where the extinct human relatives may have repeatedly returned to lay their dead to rest. Studies since the 1950s have shown that the Neanderthals buried their dead in caves with funeral rituals such as laying them to rest on a bed of flowers. In fact, evidence gathered from this cave site first suggested the Neanderthals were far more sophisticated than the primitive creatures many had assumed them to be based on their stocky frames and ape-like brows. I mean, even rats bury their dead. This is not like some sort of, oh, only people with proper society bury their dead people. Everyone else just leaves them laying, rotting in the street. Those societalist creatures. Although the species was thought to have
the ancient aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
It must have been space people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the species was thought to have died out 40,000 years ago, had skulls quite different from those of humans, the rebuilt face of the 40,000-something Neanderthal woman shows their appearance was human-like. Similar to how apes are human-like, right, guys? Is this really, like, a big surprise? The findings were revealed in a new documentary, Secrets of Neanderthals, produced by BBC and released on Netflix worldwide. So I guess check that out if you want to see the picture, because you can't see the picture on this show. Neanderthal skulls have huge brows, ridges, and lack chins, with a projecting mid-face that results in a more prominent nose, Emma Pomeroy from Cambridge University's Archaeology Department said. But the recreated face suggests those differences were not stock in life. It is perhaps easier to see how interbreeding occurred between our species. Is it really interbreeding? Isn't it intrabreeding, not interbreeding? To the extent that almost everyone alive today still has Neanderthal DNA, Dr. Pomeroy, who features in the new film, has said. Yeah, that's why I don't believe in Neanderthals' extinction theory. I believe we just bred enough with them that we became one creature.
They assimilated.
Yeah.
No, who said they were extinct? I think it's been proven they aren't.
They keep on saying the extinct species, the extinct species, you know? That's what they keep saying in this article.
I've known plenty of Neanderthals, so...
It's just human nature to put an end to things instead of just saying it transformed into something new. We don't like saying, oh, it just became something new. It's like, no, it's over. It's dead and gone forever. It didn't transform. The woman's remains, including a skull flattened to around 2 centimeters thick, are some of the best preserved Neanderthal fossils found this century, researchers have said. Her head was found to have been crushed, possibly by a rock fall soon after death, likely after the brain decomposed, but before the skull filled with dirt. After carefully exposing the remains, including her skeleton almost to the waist, Cambridge researchers used a glue-like concealant to strengthen the bones surrounding sediment. They removed Shani in a small foil-wrapped box from under 7.5 meters of soil. That's a lot of soil. 7.5 meters? That's taller than most people. For anybody
that's
there,
that's 21 feet.
7
That's like 30
is so
feet,
tall. Actually. How did they find it? Must have been poking out, I guess. No, I mean,
that's what archaeologists do.
Did somebody just went into a cave and started digging and said, "Hey, look, we found 7 meters in. Hey, we found something."
There's millions more they haven't found. Think of it that way.
Yeah, there's probably even more in there.
Right.
They removed Shani in a small foil-wrapped box from under 7.5 meters of soil rock within the Heart of Flower Funeral Cave. Then they pieced together over 200 bits of her skull to return it to its original shape, including her upper and lower jaw. It's like a high-stakes 3D jigsaw puzzle. A single block can take over a fortnight to process, Dr. Pomeroy said. The researchers surface scanned the reconstructed skull and 3D printed it, further adding layers of fabricated muscle and skin to reveal her face. Analysts of the dig suggested that Shani was laid to rest in a gully formed by running water that had been further hollowed out by a hand to accommodate the body. She had been leant against the side, with her left hand curled under her head and a rock placed lightly as a small cushion behind her head. The woman's fossil is the fifth to be found in a cluster of bodies buried at the similar time in the same location. It's behind a 2-meter-tall vertical rock at the center of the cave. The researchers also found traces of charred food, including carbonized bits of wild seed and nuts in the soil around the body clusters, suggesting the Neanderthals may have prepared food in the presence of their dead. The body of Shani was within arm's reach of living individuals cooking with fire and eating. For these Neanderthals, there does not appear to be a clear separation between life and death, Dr. Pomeroy said. Oh right, let's not archaeologize a little too much there. Our discoveries show that the Shani Neanderthals may have been thinking about death and its aftermath in ways not so very different from their closest evolutionary cousins, ourselves, archaeologist Graham Baker, who led the excavation of the cave, said. The cave may have been served as a landmark for the Neanderthals, as it appeared to have been a unique site for repeated burials, the researcher said. We can see that Neanderthals are coming back to one particular spot to bury their dead. This could be decades or even thousands of years apart, Dr. Pomeroy said. Is it just a coincidence or is it intentional? And if so, what brings them back? I think people are thinking too deeply about this. Like I said, even rats bury people in their cages. You know, there's plenty of animals who have been burying their dead. I think mostly to hide the smell because they do smell after a while. But
or burn them. Burning them was very common.
Yeah.
So we're never going to find those remains.
Yeah. We got some comments about 29, but I like the first one, which shares a similar sentiment to me, which is, the science editors of The Independent show their knowledge again, i.e. the lack thereof. The human-like face of the Neanderthal woman. Neanderthalers are humans. You also speak of your mother's face as human-like, without her kicking you in the teeth, I mean. Total amazement over evidence of tools, culture, and rituals. Why do you still live in the latter part of the 19th century in your view of previous versions of humans? You take pride in printing statements about Neanderthalers having been debunked at least 3/4 of a century ago? That's what I'm saying. Like, these things have been debunked and you're still talking about it like we're living in the 1800s.
Like, Neanderthals were stupid. They couldn't invent fire. Like, why? Why? What's so special about that?
To the Piltdown Man to begin to understand why the Independent is more and more concentrating the reporting to which present King Charles gets from his grandchildren. So there's the brilliant review here by Kenny South Park. Oh, sorry. Rebooted yet again, hands 2. That's
South
his name.
Park.
Rebooted yet again, hands 2. That was his comment, which I agree with. 37 minutes ago.
All right.
Some people have not kept up to date, which, fair enough. I have to agree with this as well. There's a lot of things you're taught as a kid in science class, like in 5th grade. And that is the truth until the end of time, okay? New revelations in scientific discovery are not updated to you after you've left high school, okay? Unless you look for them. Like dinosaurs and Neanderthals and all sorts of things are recent discoveries in the last 20, 30 years, and people just don't know about them because nobody's talking about them. But yes, Neanderthals are humans. They do look like us because they are literally part of the human family. So yeah, they're gonna look human-like. Surprise.
Are you sure they weren't crabs or something?
Yeah. Why do they have noses and a face and eyeballs? That's weird.
Maybe they were goldfish. Human-like face. Okay, well, at least the commenters got their say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of recent science discoveries, I also found out that fish are not fish. None of the things in the ocean are related to each other. Like putting people under the umbrella of putting things that swim in the ocean under the umbrella of fish is like putting everyone who walks on land humans, right? They're not the same thing, right? Oh, they all are up there, so they must all be human. Oh, they're all in the water, they all must be fish. Is not scientifically correct.
You mean like whales aren't fish and dolphins? Or
more like
walruses
angelfish aren't related at all to clownfish, for example. They're not even in the same tree. Their ancestor is billions of years away. Like
starfish,
singular fish.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Singular fish are not related to each other at all. Clownfish and angelfish.
If you had a really good food gathering system to begin with.
Sorry, what did you say?
The law of evolution. Well, evolution. If you had a really good food gathering and survival system in the first place, you had no reason to evolve. So yeah, those deep sea creatures were just, food just falling on my head all day. Why should I evolve? Yeah.
Well, also anyway. This theory of evolution's always also been readjusted. So.
Yeah, it's always being readjusted. It's science.
It's not fact, it's just a theory. Everything in science is a theory. So.
That's your theory,
that's my story.
Anyway.
You can go on to your celebratory drug administration changes.
Okay, other news stories. Ganja, hippie lettuce, marijuana. Well, that comes in a lot of names. The U.S., this is a story from the AP News. That beginning was my own. The article is written by 4 people: Zeke Miller, Joshua Goodman, Jim Mustaine. I wonder if she's related to Dave Mustaine, and Lindsay Whitehurst.
They all want to talk about this
AP.
Story.
They all want to talk about it. They've all got something to say. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration will move to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The Associated Press has learned a historic shift of generations of American drug policy that could have wide ripple effects across the country. I take complete credit for this anyway. But the proposal, which still must be reviewed by the White House Office of Management Budget, would recognize the medical use of cannabis and acknowledge it as less potential for abuse than some of the nation's most dangerous drugs. However, it would not legalize marijuana outright for recreational use. The agency's move, confirmed to the AP on Tuesday by 5 people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive regulatory review, clears the last significant regulatory hurdle before the agency's biggest policy change in more than 50 years can take effect. Once the OMB signs off, the DEA will take public comment on the plan to move marijuana from its current classification as a Schedule I drug alongside heroin and LSD. It also moves pot to Schedule III alongside ketamine and some anabolic steroids. Of course, ketamine is Elon Musk's favorite pill to pop. Following a recommendation from the Federal Health and Human Services Department, after a public comment period and a review by an administrative judge, the agency would eventually publish the final rule. Today, the Attorney General circulated a proposal to reclassify marijuana from Schedule I to Schedule III, said Justice Department Director of Public Affairs Zakatil Hinojaza. Woof, what a name. Zakatil Hinojaza. In a statement, the DEA compared... Sorry. Let's do this again. The DEA is a component of the Department of Justice. Once published by the Federal Register, it will initiate a formal rulemaking process as described by Congress in the Controlled Substances Act. Attorney General Merrick Garland's signature throws the full weight of the Justice Department behind the move and appears to signal its importance to the Biden administration. It comes after President Joe Biden called for a review of federal marijuana law on October 22 and moved to pardon thousands of Americans convicted federally of simple possession of the drug. He also called on governors and local leaders to take similar steps to erase marijuana convictions. Criminal records for marijuana use and possession have imposed needless barriers to employment, housing, and educational opportunities, Biden said in December. Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs. The election year announcement could help Biden, a Democrat, boost... Here we go. This is some nonsense, bullshit, fucking polling crap. Biden and growing numbers of lawmakers in both major political parties have been pushing for DEA decision as cannabis has become increasingly decriminalized, accepted. I don't like using the word marijuana because it's a fucking made-up word by the government to make it sound Mexican and dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway. A Gallup poll last fall found 70% of adults support legislation, the highest level yet recorded by the polling firm, and yet more double the roughly 30% who backed it in 2000. Only 30% backed it in 2000? Man, that was like the dark ages. The DEA didn't respond to repeated requests for comments. Schedule 3 drugs are still controlled substances and subject to rules and regulations, and people who traffic in them without permission could still face federal criminal prosecution. Some critics argue that the DEA shouldn't change course on marijuana, saying reschedule isn't necessary, could lead to harmful side effects. Like what? When we classify sugar, it's more dangerous. Sugar is more dangerous. Sugar kills more people, and it ain't even close. Let's reclassify sugar as harmful. Huh? Can we do that? No, because you won't. Anyway, back to the story. Jack Riley, a former deputy administrator for the DEA, said he had concerns about the proposed drug change because he thinks that marijuana remains a possible gateway drug. Oh yeah, gateway drug. Okay. Mother's milk is a gateway drug. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Alcohol is a more of a gateway drug. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Sugar is a gateway. Sugar is a gateway drug. Right? Yeah. No doubt about it. Nah. Let's give it to one thing you just don't like because he's associated with creativity and music. That's the reason I hate it. They were called jazz cigarettes for the longest time, right? You want a jazz cigarette? What's that? But in terms of us getting clear to use our resources to combat other major drugs, that's a positive, Riley said, noting that fentanyl alone accounts for more than 100,000 deaths in the U.S. a year. Marijuana, 0. On the other end of the spectrum, others argue marijuana should be treated the way alcohol is. No, it's not the same. Why would it be treated the same? It shouldn't be treated the same for driving, for instance. I don't think it impairs your driving at all, unless you're just totally flipped out. Anyway.
I think it affects everyone differently, and that's all I can really say.
I say if you can't drive, you can't drive, and marijuana ain't going to change that. While this rescheduling announcement is a historic step forward, I remain strongly committed to continuing to work on legislation to the Safer Banking Act, as well as the Cannabis Administration Opportunity Act, which federally deschedules cannabis by removing it from the Controlled Substances Act. Senate Majority Leader Chuck. Why do they do this redundant thing where they say Senate Majority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer? I mean, it's implied he's a senator.
Are you sure he's a senator?
He's a Senate Majority Leader.
Tell me after as well. Who is a senator, who is a senator? By the way.
If he's a senator and he's... Okay. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York said in a statement, Congress must do everything we can to end the federal prohibition on cannabis and address long-standing harms caused by the war on drugs. Federal policy, drug policy has lagged behind states in recent years, with 38 having already legalized medical marijuana, 38, and 24, which is almost half, legalizing its recreational use. That's helped fuel fast growth in the marijuana industry, the cannabis industry with an estimated worth of nearly... Can we make marijuana a slur? Can we just do that already? It's a square word. It always has been. Nobody calls it that. Nobody cool has ever called it marijuana in the history of anything, right? Easing federal regulations could reduce the tax burden that can be 70% or more for businesses, according to industry groups. It could also make it easier to research cannabis, since it's very difficult to conduct authorized clinical studies on Schedule I substances. I also forget to mention that another form of cannabis is CBD, which is legal in every state. The immediate effect of rescheduling the nation's criminal justice system would likely be more muted, since federal prosecutions for simple possessions have been fairly rare in recent years, but loosening restrictions could carry a host of unintended consequences in the drug war and behind. Critics point out that Schedule III drug, cannabis, would remain regulated by the DEA. That means that roughly 15,000 cannabis dispensaries in the U.S. would have to register with the DEA like regular pharmacies and fulfill strict reporting requirements, something they are loath to do and the DEA is ill-equipped to handle. Then there's the United States international treaty obligations. Chief among them is the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, which requires criminalization of cannabis. In 2016, during the Obama administration, the DEA cited the U.S. international obligations and the findings of the Federal Court of Appeals in Washington in denying a similar request to reschedule. But why do we have to care about those treaties? We don't care about all the treaties we had with the Indians. Tore them motherfuckers right up. That's the end of your story. Back to you.
Well, I'm sure it'll work out. I mean, like I said, a lot of countries already have it totally legalized. Well, I don't know. I feel like it's decriminalized everywhere in a lot of places, not legalized. Like, you can't just buy it anywhere. Right? I don't know.
And of course, the DEA is getting plenty. They're getting plenty of funding these days for other pursuits.
Millions of studies on the weird reaction people have had to cannabis. Like, not people, governments, right? They're so against letting people just get high, I guess.
all started by one guy in the 30s after Prohibition ended. Well, the federal government can't keep people from drinking booze. We got to come up with something else to interfere with people's lives. So they created this fictitious thing about cannabis, that it was, reefer badness, the whole thing.
I'm just wondering on why it's everywhere. It's not just, right, Japan, it's illegal.
That's where it started.
It's considered a heroin.
That's where it started.
In Japan. That's why
Japan's laws
got arrested. Because they had
Japan's laws were all rewritten when they lost the war, so I guarantee the U.S. had a hand in that.
And then, and Korea.
So it's all U.S. influence. You want to pretend it's anything but U.S. influence? That's cool, but I think it is, man.
American influence.
It is all U.S. It is all U.S. influence. There was never anything against it anywhere until this one guy working for the government decided to reclassify it and say, "Oh, we're legalizing booze. We're taking away this." And ever since then, there's been a stigma, and that's the only thing it has is a stigma.
Yep.
Back to you.
And it smells.
Anyways, well, it's better than smoking tobacco, and that's perfectly legal. So,
next story, we're gonna
tobacco
do
is
another update.
Tobacco is a leaf, and marijuana or cannabis is a flower.
I didn't mean you to get into a rant about it. I was just off.
No, I'm just when people act like, oh, it's terrible. It's like, hey, you rather smoke cigarettes? Really? Anyway, back to you. I'm sorry I gave it back to you 5 times now. No take-backs.
All right, update on the Rwanda Law situation here. I think we talked about this early in the week, or at least last week. The UK has passed, or is trying to pass a law where they want to send all of their migrants and asylum seekers to Rwanda, where they'll totally be taken care of and won't be taken advantage of, and we can finally solve that human trafficking problem we're having across the Channel and the Mediterranean probably as well. However, civil servants are now mounting a court challenge over this new law. This is by Dominic Cassiani on the BBC. The Union for Senior Civil Servants is launching an unprecedented legal challenge to Minister's Rwanda plan. The FDA said it was intervening because it feared the scheme to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda could force officials to break the law. Under the new law, ministers can ignore European Court of Human Rights and direct officials to organize flights. The Union wants the High Court to rule on whether the element would put civil servants in a difficult legal position. The FDA fears civil servants could be stuck between judges and ministers, and that a direction to breach international law would put them in conflict with the Civil Service Code. The government said advice from Darren Tierney, its head of propriety and ethics, says the code would not be breached. In a letter published on the government's website, Mr. Tierney wrote, "In implementing the decision, civil servants would be operating in accordance with Civil Service Code, including the obligation not to frustrate the implementation of policies once decisions are taken. They would be operating in compliance with the law enacted by Parliament, under which the minister specifically recognizing firm discretion would be exercised." The Rwanda plan is the key part of the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's pledge to stop migrants from crossing the English Channel in dangerous dinghies. The Safety of Rwanda legislation overrules last November's Supreme Court decision, which said that the country was not a safe place to send genuine refugees because they could be returned from there to their home countries and subjected to torture and abuse. It also limits what kind of legal challenges they can present to the courts and, crucially, says ministers could choose to ignore a temporary order from the European Court of Human Rights to halt flights while a case is still being considered. In practice, this will see ministers ordering key civil service leaders to prepare and send off flights, even if judges have said the case has not been settled. The First Division Association, FDA, which represents those Whitehall leaders, said that measures means members fear they could be ordered to break both international law and the Civil Service Code, their legally underpinned rulebook. Dave Penman, the FDA's General Secretary, said its members were not taking a political view on whether the Rwanda plan was right or wrong. They're only thinking about themselves. Oh God, I don't want to be one of those Nazis later who is accused of being a Nazi because I evicted people, on flights to Rwanda. Something like that, I guess, right? I don't want people to think I'm an SS guy because I helped send people on the planes to Rwanda. They needed certainty about whether the measures placed them in a conflict between ministers and the law. "This measure is not an accident or down to poof drafting," he said. It is a political choice from the government, made not for the good of the country, but to avoid upsetting either of the warring faction with its own party. It's also irresponsible. Civil servants know they have to support the government of the day and implement policy, regardless of their political beliefs. They also know they have a legal obligation to adhere to the Civil Service Code. Faced with a government that is prepared to act in this cowardly, reckless way, it is left to the FDA to defend our members and the integrity of civil service. The FDA will now ask the High Court to prioritize its case, but there is no guarantee that judges will do so. But if the case goes to full hearing, even though no departure dates have yet been set, it could temporarily paralyze the policy. I agree. Just keep on stopping this policy with red tape so it'll never ever actually be acted on. Because I just don't agree with it myself. In the worst case scenario, judges could rule the government has created an unlawful conflict that then prevents top civil servants from implementing the plan. Earlier on Wednesday, which was May 1st, not April anymore, the Home Office confirmed a series of nationwide operation was underway to detain people across the country ahead of their removal to Rwanda. You heard that here. Hide, hide, hide. They're coming after you to put you on a plane to Rwanda without any of your... No, there's no volunteer. You can't volunteer to do it. It's being forced on you. And if these planes ever set off, I'm guessing people are being put in some sort of facility to be kept in place so they can be put on these planes. So you're definitely being locked up if they catch you in some room somewhere until they find a plane and they're allowed to send you on it. Photographs and videos were released of immigration enforcement officers detaining several migrants at different residences before they were led away in handcuffs and put in secure vehicles. Each person being considered for forcible removal to Rwanda must be given at least 7 days written notice of that intention, and they have the right to launch a legal challenge. Or they can just come arrest you and then put you in a cage, and then you can legally challenge it. The governments have previously said it was aiming for flights to be taking off by the spring, but now says that should happen in 9 to 11 weeks. Labour has said it would scrap the Rwanda scheme if it wins the next election. Yes, please vote for Labour just to scrap this stupid idea. However, after several times where the party released the detained as part of a policy, Labour's Deputy Nation Campaign Coordinator Elliot Reeves would not say. We want to get people back to their own countries if their claims have failed, which is why we would set up those return agreements and also recruit 1,000 caseworkers, she told BBC Radio 4's World at One program. Labour have said they would allow those who have arrived on small boats to apply for asylum, something current arrivals are barred from doing, which is against, I think, everyone's opinion on rights as a human being on this planet. If you want asylum, you should be allowed to apply for it. The end. There's no question. There's no, oh, but what if? Who cares? Right? They're asking for help. Let them ask for help. They're not even allowed to ask for help. Fucking, I hate racists.
I understand several of them have human-like faces.
Yeah. Human-like faces, even. Very similar to Neanderthals.
That's true. I very, very similar to our humanoids.
Some of them can even speak. Maybe not the language you know. Monolingual freaking England has, but...
Rumor has it they have opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
Very, very, very adept at tools, I understand.
I hear people go over the channel on dinghies because they're desperate, not because they're trying to destroy the country from within, or whatever the hell these anti-immigrant
they're only doing it because
their
their yacht is in maintenance and dry dock, so they have to take the raft. They're just there to ruin your country, you guys. That's it. Not because their country's revolution or whatever the hell's going on, war torn, or their entire town is overrun by gangs. But hey, just treat them like they're nothing.
They're just here to attack us.
There's somebody texting me. I hate that. Right by my camera too.
Added that no flights to Rwanda carrying asylum seekers would be scheduled by a Labour government, but this does not mean any already scheduled before the election for departure afterwards could still leave. The precise nature of how Labour planned to handle the small boats issue is now the subject of considerable scrutiny, with the general election drawing closer and the legal framework of it inherent if it wins much clearer than it was. Can we just not make it a problem? That's the solution. Oh, people are coming over the channel in boats. Oh, that's cool. No problems here. That's how you make it not a problem. You people have polarized it into an issue that is not an issue. You're muted. You're still muted.
No, you just said, here's a sandwich, here's a job picking up trash, have a nice time in our country, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many freaking jobs that need to be done, and oh no, let's lock them up and just let them waste away in a building somewhere. Because
I don't like that their skin color is darker than mine. I don't know what reasons they are, but I'm sure it's all of those. On Monday, it emerged that most of the asylum seekers initially earmarked for deportation to Rwanda could not be immediately located. Yeah, probably because they're like, I don't want to fucking go to Rwanda. Home Office documents show 5,700 asylum seekers have been identified in the initial cohort be sent to Rwanda, but only 2,143 continue to report to the Home Office and can be located for detention. Whoever those 2,000 people are, stop reporting your location. Do not work with the system. The system doesn't like you. Number 10 said it was not accurate to say the Home Office was unable to locate the others, but a government source admitted it was possible some could have absconded before they were detained. The Home Office said it had increased detention capacity to more than 2,200 spaces and had 500 highly trained escorts ready. The department said commercial charters had also been booked and an airport had been put on standby. Enver Solomon, chief executive of the Refugee Council, said the government's move to detain people is causing fear, distress, and great anxiety amongst men, women, and children who have fled war and persecution to return safety in the UK. He said the government should focus on processing asylum claims efficiently and fairly rather than headline-grabbing schemes that will waste time and resources. Yes, thank you. Hello here. And I'm scared. I'm not even in the UK. I'm not even a channel crossing refugee, and that's scary to hear. It's causing me fear to hear that there's people out there who are, sitting, watching the telly, and then knock, knock, knock. You have been selected to be sent to Rwanda. Thanks for telling us your location every month so that we could find you.
Right.
Thanks for working with us.
Right.
So we could send you away. Okay, last section of this article, and then we can stop talking about it. It comes as figures show 268 people arrived in the UK across the English Channel in 5 boats on Tuesday, which was April 30th. A total of 7,567 people made the journey from January to April, Provisional Home Office figures show. The figure is 27% higher than the number of arrivals recorded in the same period last year. Meanwhile, a first failed asylum seeker has gone to Rwanda under a separate voluntary removal program. Under the scheme announced in March, migrants whose claims are rejected are offered up to £3,000 to move to the East African country. Oh, if you bribe them, I'm sure that will save you a lot of money. You just bribe them to leave. The Sun, which first reported the story, said the unnamed man was flown out of the UK on Monday on a commercial flight. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper called news of this voluntary return a pre-election gimmick, adding taxpayers were forking out £3,000 for a volunteer to board a plane. Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey said they've had...
Well, he can go anywhere he wants after that.
Yeah, they've had to pay someone £3,000. There's a suspicion out there that this is about an election. It's not about seriously stopping the boats. I mean, who cares about stopping the boats? Yet again, why do we care so much about this? I understand why they want to stop the asylum. Like, if you just make it easier for people to go to your country, then there won't be human trafficking. That's my stance. I'm going to end my stance there because we've talked about this enough. And
You'd think Sunak would care more.
Yeah, hopefully this red tape will wrap up this Rwanda plan so much that it'll never ever take off the ground. On to Thursday 13, whatever you have planned for me, because you haven't told me what it is. You just told me there's 13
I did, kinda. I did tell you.
Did you?
Well, at least. Well,
you told me you didn't want to ask
you changed the subject right away.
Because you didn't want me to find out the answer.
But you changed the subject from what we were talking about. You think Sunak would care more about immigrants? Isn't at least his parents immigrants, yeah. Right? But that's the thing with immigrants. The closer you are to being an immigrant, the more you hate the more recent immigrants, right? People whose parents were born here, right? Or parents immigrated and they were born here. They hate immigrants more than you or I would, I think, because they had to claw their way up, They had to go, I'm the bottom. And the parents are like, yeah, we worked 9 jobs, put you in college so you could be a racist. No. Anyway, today's Thursday 13, and we have theme music for this one. His name is not Slim Shady, but it is something else which probably everybody already knows. Today's list, 13, Thursday, celebrity edition of real name, fake name, and it's the music edition of this, the music only edition, so it'll narrow the list down for you. You don't think about actors or kings or anybody. The first one, of course, is easy. You know this one, and you're gonna guess. Don't be looking them up. I see typing. Don't be typing. Don't be typing there. Don't be looking them up on Google. You know this one, right?
No, I'm not looking them up. I don't hear you. I was replying to something I saw.
Did you read that?
Marshall Mathers. Everyone knows that one.
Who's that?
I think. Well, that's Eminem.
There you go. M stands for Marshall, and the other M stands for Mathers, and the N is what? His middle name.
Oh.
Anyway, you actually got it. Yeah. Eminem, yeah. Do you know this one? Paul Hewson. Who's
I'm not
Paul
gonna know
Hewson?
any of the. First of all, this is a terrible game for me because I don't know people's names to begin with. So this is already going to be bad because I couldn't.
You're not there to win. You're just there to guess wrong, okay? You're not there to win.
I can't guess
okay?
anybody. No idea. It's
You're
music
not gonna
edition.
guess.
Some
All right.
sort of rock and roll guy.
If you know it, you know it. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. But you have definitely heard. You have definitely heard of all of these people. I'm not throwing any people out there you've never heard of. Okay, Paul Hewson is Bono. That's his real name. Paul Hewson.
Really? Okay.
So
I have to think of people who have weird names, I guess.
Stop
being musicians.
Dissing my list before you've seen it. Stephanie, Joanne.
Oh God, that's a long one.
Angelina Geramati. Who is that? Stephanie?
Angelina
Joanne
Jolie?
Angelina.
No, she's not an artist.
It's a woman. Easy to figure out, right?
Lady Gaga.
Yes, you're 2 out of 3. Who is Belcalis Almazar? And I know the story behind this one. Who is that?
No idea. What the hell?
No idea?
No.
That's Cardi B. That's her real name. Cardi B's real name.
Oh shit!
And you know,
I should have known that one.
Her name.
That's
her name is short for Bacardi. Well, her name is Bacalis, but her she has a sister named after some brand of alcohol, right? So her friends started calling her Bacardi instead of Bacalis, and she shortened it to Cardi. So there you go, Cardi B. That's her real name. Who's David Jones? You know this one, right? Most people do. David Jones, not the Monkees guy. If you're scoring at home, he's not the Monkees guy, and if you're scoring at home, you probably know this one already. It's not that much of a leap.
Generic name, so it could be anybody.
David Jones sounds very British. You might want to narrow it down to British people. This is old-timey rock and roll. David Bowie. That's his real name. David Bowie's real name.
Just like
and who is Farrokh Who is Farrokh Bulsara? Who is that? Farrokh Bulsara. Remember, this is the music edition. Mostly rock and roll and rap.
Yeah,
we did a rap edition there.
Names.
Farrokh Bulsara, you know this one too. Originally Persian, moved to England.
Do I know
Freddie Mercury?
He's not
Freddie Mercury.
He's not Persian.
Isn't
he from
Persian.
Armenia?
Yep.
No, not Armenia. Shit.
Farrokh Bulsara. Well, I thought you were saying. Well, I'm not going to argue with it. Do you know who Reginald Kenneth Dwight is? Reginald Kenneth Dwight,
The Rock?
very famous.
No, he doesn't do music.
Again, British. If you haven't figured that out, what's that? The Rock?
He doesn't do music.
No, I think he's Dwayne Johnson or something.
Yeah.
Reginald Kenneth Dwight is Elton John.
Oh, really? Dwight?
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Reginald Kenneth Dwight is his last name. And who is Gordon Sumner? Gordon Sumner. Do you know who that is? Think of people with one name. No 2 names, just one name. Gordon Sumner.
I can't think of anybody's name. I have very bad name recollection.
I'm gonna bail you out this time. Again, that one is Sting. These aren't designed for you to get them necessarily. They're just designed to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Gordon Sumner is Sting. That is Sting's real name. And who is James? This one is this is the best one on the whole list. James Jewel Osterberg Jr. Who's that? No one will guess this unless you just know it. In a million years.
Jr.
Well, I would like to present our guest for the evening, James Jewel Osterberg Jr., otherwise known as Iggy Pop.
Really? Okay.
Iggy Pop's real. Yeah.
I don't know if I even know any Iggy Pop songs.
That'll send you down. Lust for Life. Lust for Life's one that pops in my head. And our next one, number 10, David Howell Evans. You know what David Howell Evans again? Sounds very British too. That's a hint.
British artists with one name or weird names.
Hey, he has a weird name. It's kind of 2 names. and he's not the featured member of the band, but he's very famous as the guitar player. David Howell Evans.
The one with a V in his name. Doesn't he have a V in his name?
And he's also in the same band with somebody who's one of our earlier names. He's in the same exact band, so there you can figure out what
I already
that
forgot
is.
what we've talked about.
Okay, it's The Edge from U2. The Edge. David Hall Evans, who's the guitar player for U2, who also changed his name, just like
what's the
Bono
guitar
did.
player
This one's
name
great.
of U2 though? What is his name?
I just told you, Paul Houston.
Paul
number
Houston's his name? That's why he changed his name.
Yeah,
to?
Bono. No, Paul Houston changed his name to Bono.
Stage name. What's the guitar?
The Edge. The Edge. The Edge. You never heard The Edge?
Yeah,
The Edge. That's his name. The Edge.
But
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Well, you haven't heard of The Edge. I'm sorry. I know you've heard of the rest of these.
I've heard of The Edge. I just wouldn't. I don't pay attention to the name of people's and bands. I'll be honest.
This isn't supposed to be easy, man. Stop defending yourself.
I'm not trying to defend himself. I'm just an idiot.
Cordezer, Calvin Broadus. Yeah, but every one of these is like, I don't know why these names are hard. I'm like, I get it. You don't know them, man. Cordezer, Calvin Broadus. Who is that? Who the hell is that? What is that crazy ass name? Oops, I lost my magnet. And that be Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg's real name. Yeah, I've actually known that for years. Yeah, it's Snoop Dogg.
Everyone
Or as you used to call
has
himself,
such a long
Snoop
name.
Doggy Dog.
You can see why they changed their names, because their names are super.
Cordezer. There's a name nobody else has.
Yeah.
And the next one, before the last one, because my magnet fell off, it says Saul Hudson. Who's Saul Hudson? Who is that? You know this guy. He's a guitar player. Actually, the most recognizable guitar player on any video game. That'll give you a clue. What?
Slash?
Saul Hudson. That's right, Slash. That's his real name. Very Jewish.
I literally
right?
I literally had to think so hard to think of his name because I only know his face, which is.
Right, exactly. Slash from Guns N' Roses, and from Velvet Revolver.
The
Velvet Revolver after Guns.
Real name on Thursday 13 is.
And 13. This actually might be easy. George Allen Dowd. Do you know where George Allen Dowd is? Again, very British name. I'll give you a clue.
Pink Floyd.
No, nobody in Pink Floyd changed their name. They all have proper English names. David Gilmour, Roger Waters.
Member of. Can't think of any other bands.
George would be a clue. His first name would be a clue. That's Boy George.
Little George? Oh, I was going to say Little George. There's a guy called Little George.
The most
Boy
famous.
George. Yeah. Boy George, Little George,
same
thing.
The most famous cross-dresser of the 80s, Boy George.
I think he's also famously not a great guy, but you know. We're not here to judge people. We're just here to find out their real names.
If we had to list great guys, we'd probably just have to erase the whole board. We'd probably leave Sting. Well, Sting, according to Stuart Copeland, his drummer, is not a great guy. David Bowie's a great guy. Freddie Mercury apparently was a great guy. No opinion on Cardi B or Lady. I don't know.
Cardi B is an inspiration to women everywhere. She was a stripper.
There you go.
Rich off
all right,
of stripping,
so is Lady Gaga, and so is
Star. And if that's
Bono,
not a richest story, nothing is.
I've heard stories about Elton John being a total bitch.
Well, he's probably just a bottom.
Iggy Pop's probably 90 by now, but still cutting himself with razor blades, so you can't knock a guy for that. And
maybe you can.
Of course, David Howell Evans, The Edge. That's probably a nice guy. Of course, Bono does a lot of great stuff for the world. Doesn't care about wealth all that much. I'm sure he won't give all of his money away.
I don't know why, but he gives me the ick. You know, like there's something about him. It's like, suspicious.
It's your anti-Irish bias. Just
my Irish bias.
Just a joke.
Yeah, totally.
Back to you.
Okay.
Back to you.
Well, we learned
Just
about some music. Let's talk about some acting. This is my culture segment here from The Guardian by Kate Wyver. Can we just let trans people audition for roles that don't happen to be trans? You know, like I want to be the pharmacist in that scene. Can I audition to be a pharmacist? Oh no, you're a trans woman, so we're not looking for trans woman pharmacists right now. You know? So that's what this article's about. This article's about just let trans people be actors and play things. Just because they're trans doesn't mean they can only play like LGBTQ people, right? Kim Tatum dreams of playing Norman Desmond, Sunset Boulevard's exquisite former star of silent films. Mariah Luca longs to perform a dangerous liaison's evil scheming Marquise de Merteuil, and for Reese Lyons, it's the monstrous ambition of Lady Macbeth that makes her the ideal role. But until attitudes within British theater shift, it's unlikely these talented performers will get to play their dream characters. How ironic! British theater, famous for cross-dressing. I believe, I can't think of the phrasing right now.
Transvestites.
But there's a acronym. I think we talked about it when we were talking about Shakespeare like the other day. But all of the actors in Shakespeare, in the original day of Shakespeare, right, were men dressed as women. Right? That's what they were. And that was fine. But when trans women want to be, you know, specific characters, that's a big deal for some reason. Despite their skills, training, and accolades, trans women just don't seem to get cast in cisgendered roles. I have never seen a trans woman on stage play a mother or a love interest, Offie Award-winning Lyons said. Why don't we come to mind for that? Lyons is sitting on a low couch and a light streamed across from Tatum and Loca, frustrated with the constant obstacles they face in the industry. The three actors are calling for trans women to be put on equal footing for cis roles. In 2019, the Performing Arts and Entertainment Trade Union, Equity, called for more casting directors to consider trans actors for non-trans parts. But from the experience of this intergenerational trio, the anecdotal accounts of their trans community actor friends, this hasn't happened. We just want to have the chance to audition, explains Tatum, who also performs under the name Ms. Kimberly, to prove we are just as good as our cis counterparts. Things have drastically changed since I began my career in the 90s. The industry is reluctant to take a chance on us. 10 years ago, it was not uncommon to see cis performers play trans roles on stage and screen. The industry has largely now acknowledged this isn't acceptable. For many, this is where the conversation has become stuck. The formalities have been ticked off, like respecting pronouns, Lyons explains, but transphobia still comes out in casting processes. We are only ever invited under very specific terms and conditions to play trans women. I think that's kind of the trade-off they may have made unknowingly when trans people were asking for actors to not be playing trans people. They kind of drew a line there in the sand saying, oh, okay, so now we can only play things that we are, and we can't act as things we aren't. And when they made that line, unfortunately, it put them in a box. Unknowingly, they did this, and that was the result. Which really sucks, because acting should just be a free-flowing, just whoever I think fits the role, they can do it. The end, right? But unfortunately, humans don't work on, you know, just open-minded choice like that. Consequently, trans performers struggle to find consistent work. You can't have a sustainable career within theatre if you're only going to play trans roles, Leon says. There just aren't enough parts. The failure to audition trans women for cis roles is a refusal to truly see them as women. For a long time, this wasn't something Luca had to deal with. Until the age of 40, she didn't disclose that she was trans to the industry. I didn't want the world to forever pigeonhole me as a trans woman rather than just a woman, she says. Of course, it has dangers and its downsides, but it was wonderful to just be seen as a woman I've always known myself to be. On stage, Loca was cast in liberatingly wide variety of roles. I've been playing mothers and queens and wives, she smiles, and I didn't want that to change. In 2019, around the time Equity made its statement and the National Theatre held a 2-day trans casting conference, it seemed the conversation was shifting. Casting directors Luca spoke to said the industry actually wanted trans voices, so she made the tough decision to disclose her true identity. I did get busy very quickly, she said carefully, but it's already slowed down and it's moved me into casting bracket of exclusively trans roles. Auditions for cis parts are far more rare, Luca finds. The majority of trans roles she's been seen for have been put trans agony at the forefront. None of the three are against playing trans roles, as long as they're not all they're considered for. Leon talks with pride about performing in Travis Albonza's one-woman show, Overflow, in 2020 as Rosie, a trans woman who talks to the audience from a club bathroom. Being seen almost exclusively for trans roles reduces them. Trauma is often all we're given to perform, Lucas says. Why would I want to relive that? Even with trans roles that supposedly seek authenticity, transphobia can creep in. One director told Luca that she wasn't cast for a part because she didn't look trans enough. What the hell does that mean? Adam, who performed in Young John Lee's 2021 satire Straight White Men at South Lark Playhouse in London, echoes this point. Many don't understand that being trans or non-binary isn't new. We've always been here. As a community, we've pushed underground for years, but when a marginalized community finds their voice, there's always someone trying to knock them down with false propaganda. To help bring about more opportunities and greater equality for trans women, Luca believes there should be quotas in place. If there's 20 people auditioning, audition 2 or 3 trans people, she suggests. Demonstratively, increasing the number of trans performers considered for non-trans role would enable more performers to build sustainable careers that will develop more talent for our stages and help influence attitudes among audiences. Casting directors, producers, and directors are deciding on narrative, said Tatum. But when you give trans women more visibility on stage and screen, it helps society understand us more. In October 2023, hate crime against trans people hit a record high in England and Wales. I went through years of not being able to breathe in public, says Tatum, hid under large glasses and baseball hats. Fueled by the desire to claim back the narrative, as well as responding to lack of opportunities they are seeing, Luca and Leons are developing their own work. Luca is writing a police thriller for TV that she wants to star in. It's had significant interest, but she's struggling to get it greenlit without a star attached, despite being told it's flipping the trans conversation on its head, and there are few star trans actors in the UK. The US are leaps and bounds ahead in that department, she says, particularly on screen. Well, then just hire one of them and have them do a British accent. For the stage, I'm just saying, if British actors go to the US and have their American actors, just have US trans people come over and be British. It's fine. Give them some voice acting courses and just, there you go. For the stage, Leon's is writing a one-woman show about morally gray Lilith having an affair with Adam behind Eve's back. More often than not, trans women on stage are likable because they've been written by a cis person who is very cautious and wants to do it for representation. Leon says with an edge of cynicism, I'm not doing it for representation. I'm doing it so I can identify with her and go, fuck, I've been that woman. Making their own work shouldn't be the only option. These actors are fed up with being rejected before they've had a chance to show what they can do. The talent exists, Luca determines. If you just let us audition, you'd see it. I do want to point out that I do watch, I'm sure a lot of people on YouTube might know this YouTuber, PhilosophyTube, who is a trans woman, and she's recently not only had her own play come out where she's a lead in that, but she's also created a TV show. I don't know if she's a lead. I don't even know if she's in it, but I know she's created a TV show, and obviously she has her YouTube channel as well. So maybe, I don't know, ask PhilosophyTube to, I like how I call her PhilosophyTube. She has a name, but I just think PhilosophyTube. Be in your plays. She's been in the plays. She's an important talent.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, people are looking for star trans actors when sometimes you just have to make a star trans actor. Just do it. I mean, there's so many films out there that made their stars by just hiring people who nobody knows about. So, like Star Wars is famous for doing that. Star Wars is always hiring unknowns and then putting them straight into the spotlight where they get verbally threatened by people on social media for being black or whatever.
Everybody's unknown until they're known.
Exactly. So you're looking for a star,
Jack
go make
Nicholson
a star.
was unknown.
Yeah. But there's my...
You can look at a bunch of old films all the time with unknowns in them that were unknown at the time, but you know who they are now because it's 40 years later.
Exactly. But that's my article on let trans people just exist. And onto this day in history, I guess.
Okay, this day in history. Today is May the 2nd. On this day, in 1519, the Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci, whose works notably, the painting of Mona Lisa, died in Clos, France on this day. In 1519, Leonardo died. I think most people know who he is. 1536, Henry VIII had his second wife, Anne Boleyn, committed to the Tower of London on charges of adultery and incest, although likely innocent. She was later convicted and beheaded. So, yeah. Henry VIII was a real bastard. The King James Version of the Bible was first published on this day in 1611, named after King James. 1803, the United States purchase of Louisiana Territory from France at the rate of less than 3 cents per acre for 828,000 square miles, which soon proved to be a tremendous bargain because old Napoleon needed money to fight a war, so he gave the United States, like a third of the entire land population of the United States in one fell swoop. Which really wasn't his to give, but France said it was theirs. But whatever. He had the deed. I guess he had a piece of paper with a notary public on it, and he got it stamped. 1889, in this day, Menelik II of Ethiopia signed the Treaty of Weshal with Italy, granting it territory in northern Ethiopia in exchange for money and weaponry. Money, money, money. More shit for money. Short-term gain, basically. 1892, Manfred Baron von Richthofen, or the Red Baron, Germany's top aviator and leading ace in World War I, was born in Breslau, Germany, which is now called Wrocław, Poland. Happy birthday to the Red Baron. 1903, American pediatrician Benjamin Spock was born. He wrote the number of influential books on child rearing, notably Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care, which sold more than 50 million copies worldwide, was born. And of course, there's a controversy, kind of a controversial book, but it said, let your kids do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, I agree. Let them be fucking
Don't
kids.
Don't strictly punish your kid. What?
I agree. Let kids be kids.
But the results are the baby boomer generation. So let's go ahead and revisit this, okay? All right, thank you very much. You got to think about what the results were before you think it's a good idea. Anyway, in 1920, the Negro National League, the NNL, founded by Rube Foster, held its first game. The NNL was considered the first successful professional baseball league for African Americans, and notable players included Cool, Papa Bell, and Satchel Paige. In 1921, Bengali director Satyajit Ray, who brought Indian cinema to world recognition with the Apu trilogy, was born in Calcutta. 1935, the peasants of Luzon, Philippines rose up in arms against oppressive land tenancy laws. Way to go, peasants!
Woo!
They were probably instantly crushed by military, but at least they rose up. 1946, an attempted prison escape by 6 inmates in Alcatraz resulted in 2 days of violent fighting, which became known as the Battle of Alcatraz. In 1997, British Labour Party leader Tony Blair, who was the last, we had this weeks and weeks ago, who was the last Labour Party leader of the United Kingdom? It was Tony Blair.
And it was not great.
And he was,
so I can see why Labour hasn't been back yet since. Yeah,
it's because he became George Bush's lapdog, that's why. Yeah. And Tony Blair became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom on this day in 1977. He was the youngest person to hold the office since 1812. In the year 2000, U.S. President Bill Clinton announced that the highly accurate GPS will be made available to the public. The satellite signals had previously been degraded for non-military use. Well, all they did was descramble the signal, right? All they did was The satellite signals were scrambled to be 100 meters off, and with military encryption, and you had to have a device that had to be encrypted with that encryption for that month in order to be accurate with GPS. Well, Bill Clinton got rid of that because they wanted to use it on airplanes, right? They wanted to use it to basically guide airplanes directly to the runway so they don't get lost or whatever. And they declassified it. So got rid of all that encryption stuff. And of course, they can do that anytime they want. Keep this in mind. Anytime they want to, war breaks out, they can re-encrypt the satellites. And it ain't that hard, really. It's a flick of a switch.
Just a flick of a switch.
2011, and imagine all the chaos if everybody's 100 meters off instead of a meter off, right? It's 100 meters in any direction, by the way. Just draw a big circle where you are. 2011, Osama bin Laden was killed in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
So happy death day to Osama bin Laden, you piece of crap. 2015, Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana Cambridge, the second child of William, Duke of Cambridge, and Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, was born in London. So she's the second child. No queen shit for you. Anyway.
Unless the other one dies, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Unless the other one just doesn't want to be it, right? It seems to be a trend, right? I don't want to be king.
Is a thing.
This place sucks. I want to go to Rwanda.
Yeah.
Anyway. In 1939, Lou Gehrig, his 2,130 game streak ended on this day, 1939. New York Yankee great Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse of American baseball, ended his streak of consecutive games played at 2,130, setting a record that stood until 95 when it was broken by Cal Ripken Jr. Of course, Cal Ripken was also allowed to DH every other day if he wanted to. So it's not exactly playing in the field every day, although I'm pretty sure Cal Ripken played in the field most days. And of course, Lou Gehrig died of Lou Gehrig's disease, one of the world's most weirdest coincidences. Just a joke. Just a bad joke, sorry. Our feature biography, Catherine II. Catherine II, Empress of Russia, who was born on May 2nd, 1729 in Szczecin, Poland, and died November 17th in 1796 at the age of 67. Happy birthday, Catherine. And 1860 is the birthday of Theodore Herzl, Australian Zionist leader. 1892, Manfred, we did the Red Baron. We did the Indian film director. It's Dwayne Johnson's birthday. The Rock, American professional wrestler and actor, was born on this day, 1972. So he's 52. My God, he's old and decrepit already. David Beckham's birthday. David Beckham turns 49 today. I don't imagine he's still playing soccer full time, is he? Not at 49. Oh Lord, he's falling apart. That's old for an athlete, especially when I'm in the running sports. And that's the things for today. What day is it today? National Day calendar is National Truffle Day, National Day of Prayer, National Life Insurance. So I don't have any life insurance, I don't have any truffles, and I don't have a prayer. So I'm really out of luck today. Back to you. May 2nd, 2024. Back to you.
More coffee. Yeah, give me a sec. I'm currently
hopefully you get the clip I send you. Make sure you get that clip, right?
Yeah, I got it. It just
make sure you start at the 7-minute mark. That's. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Let me put that up here. Yep. All right.
Oh.
This has been Allison here from the Netherlands. I hope everyone is having a good morning or afternoon. Tomorrow will be our Friday's news dump, so don't forget to comment down below what you think we should talk about on our Friday's news dump so that we can cover some stuff we may have missed this week. Other than that, have a good one. Stay safe out there. And here is your mic drop moment.
What a great day for the Black family, sitting here with his parents, Rod and Nancy. By the way, Nancy celebrating her birthday today, so an even better day for the Black family. But Rod, we were chatting. You had planes, trains, and automobiles to make it here from your vacation in Cancun, but you made it right at game time.
He's a baller. He's been a baseballer since he's been a kid, and that's all he's done is hit. I think hand-eye from hockey also helps. There's a base hit to right field for my boy, Tyler Black. Woo! There you go. Oh, there you go. 2 for 2. Happy birthday, Nancy.
That was incredible. He's got tears in his eyes, guys. This is an incredible moment for the Black family. Congratulations to you guys. What a fantastic day.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think we're going to start drinking heavily.
Welcome to Milwaukee. You fit right in.
We love Milwaukee. We love Milwaukee. We're never leaving.
A base hit for my boy.
Wow. How many broadcasters are able to say that?
Oh, man.
Right?
Willie Adames, first and third, nobody out. 3-1, Brewers have the lead.
2-0 drive left center. Did he get enough? Absolutely. 3-run bomb, Willie Adames. Starting to open things up in the 5th inning.
Yeah, that pitch right down the middle of the plate. Willie didn't miss it. High, towering shot into the Brewers bullpen.
Freddie Peralta getting it done and then some, Rock.
Yeah, he's really managed his pitch count well tonight. I mean, the pitch count is in really good shape as we work here in the 6th inning. And no walks. That helps.
Got him. Another strikeout. That's 7 for Freddie.
Just rearing back and letting that one fly. Well located up and away.
Ooh, and he hits Siri.
Second hit batter for Freddie Peralta. The umpire's out in front, and the umpires are going to come in and have a discussion. Are they going to issue warnings? So Siri was the one who hit the home run.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.